Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange Coordinates, a show where we use brands as compass points to lead us to fascinating stories. I'm Idon Sarakaya.
And I'm Topher Burns. Iron and I lead an ad agency called Territorial that helps brands find their place in the world. But we're not the only people who love brands. On Stranger Coordinates, we focus on a specific theme and we bring a traveling companion along with us on the journey.
Today, we're excited to dive into the world of AI. By this point, we've all seen AI deepfake memes and watched our friends turn their social media profiles into Studio Ghibli style manga. For most people, this might just be a fun little quirk of larger adoption of AI we're seeing across tech. But for those who work in creative fields, this poses a lot of questions, both exciting and potentially terrifying.
Yeah, and we're not going to explore this idea alone. Joining us today is the co founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consultancy who has served previously as Chief Digital Officer of New York City, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and Columbia University, working on the future of cities, culture, and education, respectively. Please, everybody, give a big welcome to Sreenivasan.
Welcome.
Hello,
So good
nice
to
to be here.
so good to have you here.
Thank you. Excited.
Sree, so we're going to be talking about some very forward-thinking, cutting-edge type stuff, but I'd love to do a little bit of a digital throwback. You and I actually met when we were both helping out on a very early edition of the Shorty Awards.
Yes, I used to say Shorty Awards are honoring excellence in social media, such as it is.
Yeah.
And the world of social has changed so much in the last 15 years. Ups, downs, a lot of downs, and lots of problems as we can see happening right now. Lots of promise, lots of potential. Some very good
Yeah.
things have happened, but some terrible, awful things have also happened.
Yes, and you've been tracking a lot of that through
Mm,
your work,
mm.
obviously, working as chief digital officer in a variety of places, but then also that's come to fore in your new role as leading Digimentors. I would love for you to just tell us a little bit more about what that does, what types of activities that means that you're involved in.
Sure. So I spent a lot of time working in legacy organizations, the Met, 150 years old, Columbia, 250 years old, New York City, 400, these are hundreds of years old organizations, trying to get them to think about life and work in the 21st century. And along the way, I learned a lot about communications, about telling stories, about how you bring together the right combination of resources, of audiences, and brands so that they can have a high impact. And about 7 years ago, I started putting together a team that would do this for all kinds of organizations instead of one at a time. And
Yes.
that's how I ended up with Digimentors. My best friend, Andrew Lee, who taught with me at Columbia for many years, he and I, he's always been my digital mentor. And I had this idea that everyone in their lives needs a digital mentor, a Digimentor. And so he was mine. He had an internet business in January of 94, if you can just imagine how that's even possible. But he had this vision that the internet's going to change everything, and so you should pay attention. And so he taught me a lot along the way. I was a professor at Columbia Journalism School, and journalism is an industry that has been kind of turned
Yeah.
upside down by the internet. The
Yeah.
reach, impact, and importance of journalism has skyrocketed. At the same time, it has also undercut the economics of journalism
Yeah.
and the way in which we've seen the current problems in the world can be connected directly to the problems that social media, the internet,
Hmm.
and media and journalism, that intersection, how it's all gone wrong.
It's
What is
wild to
it?
think that a tweet can adjust policy these days, right?
Yeah.
It used to be that you were tweeting to find information, and now you're, governing via the internet, via social media.
Yeah, and I think that the way when we first saw just the internet, so now I do workshops on things like AI policy, AI governance,
Mm.
AI strategy planning, things like that. But if I rewind, I used to do classes on email and why you should use email. And the reason was that in the 90s, people preferred another medium of communication, or that was what was available, and that was the fax machine. Most of your audience knows nothing about, but the fax
Wow.
machine was so much better in people's eyes than email because you could see a letterhead, you could see a
Yeah.
signature, you could even see a small phone number from which the fax had come. So that gave us certain, credibility to this piece of information. And so people like that. So when email came around, and I would
Yeah.
try to do workshops around email and why you should use email and etiquette of email and optimizing your email, all of that, people be like, what do we need email for? We love the fax machine. And we have seen that in various junctures after that, right? The rise of just the web and the rise of social media. Before that, rise of blogs. So when all of
Yeah.
that you combine that, you can see that most technology, when they first come out, there may be issues about who adopts them, when they adopt them, and then we see both the potential as well as the pitfalls. And
Yeah.
what is different, I think, about this moment compared to anything else is the underpinning of everything that we have talked about so far was that there was a moment, there was a time till about 10 years ago where you'd say, this is the truth. We know the sky is blue. We know that plant is green, or there are a few voices that when they say this, everybody could agree this is real, and then this is not real. We're seeing now in politics the misinformation, the disinformation, that's always been there, but at scale and the percentage of people who believe them, that's where
Yeah.
we have to worry that in a world where 10% of any group you survey will say the earth is flat, that's a problem. And there are lots of people to be blamed for this.
You mentioned that one of the areas that you spend a lot of time talking with executives now is on the world of AI. And
Mhm.
as people who work in a creative field, that's obviously hugely important for Idon and I when we think about things like generative AI specifically. That's a hot topic of conversation for anybody in a creative field. I'm wondering, what types of conversations are you having similar, maybe even to your previously, like, here's what email does and here's what it can help with. What types of conversations are you having with executives and companies around generative AI?
Yeah, yeah, I tell people that AI itself is not new. It's been around for
Mm.
decades. Steven Spielberg made a movie in 2001 called AI, Artificial Intelligence. But what changed is that in October 2022, we saw the arrival of ChatGPT and generative
Yeah.
AI. And if you think
Mm.
of the kind of evolution of AI. There's something that we call classification AI, where you see that you're teaching AI and machines. You're teaching them that's a tree, that's a lamp, that's a table. It has four legs. That's a horse that has four legs, but it's not a table,
Mm.
etc. That's one wave of AI. The next wave is generative AI, where we're in now, where you type in something and something that never existed comes out. A song,
Mm.
Yeah.
a novel, a short story,
Mm.
images, etc. And then we're going into interactive AI, which is going to be the moment where AI agents and AI tools kind of work autonomously and work independently. Some people, when they hear that, they think that's great, and other people think it's really scary. The best explanation I can give to about the difference between where we are now and where we go is on Zoom calls. If you've ever turned on the AI companion on a Zoom call,
Yeah.
you've seen they do that summary. It's about, I would say, about 80 to 90% accurate. The problem is that it all depends on what you were trying to say, and did the machine hear clearly what you're doing, but at least it works. And you go in and you can in a call, you can say, catch me up, and it'll tell you these are this is what you missed. You can also say, what are the action items from this? And it'll say that Jane is going to do this and John is going to do this, etc. That's where we are now. In the next wave, the those tasks will be done by the AI instead of John and
Mm,
Jane having to do the work. It'll be assigned and executed, and that's at the same time very exciting and very scary for people who are just looking at this. And so look at kind of everything around us with generative AI. There's so many opportunities for people to use technology. I often say that I'm talking not about people who are going to be doing AI, but for people who are having AI done to them.
mm,
Because, I think I sometimes make a comparison to the BlackBerry. And there was a time when you did your work and then you went home for the weekend and your boss would maybe email you and you check your email a little bit. But when the BlackBerry came around, then your boss would expect you to be on call. It became this tether that we all, but we begged for it. People were like, "Oh my God, they're giving us this phone. It's so great."
Yeah.
It was not a phone, obviously. It was just a email reading and or sending machine. But people begged for this.
yeah, yeah.
So AI is somewhat similar, especially generative AI. That there's a great tweet that someone said that my problem with AI is that it's going in the wrong direction. I want AI to do my laundry and my dishes so that I can do art and writing. Instead, it's doing art and writing, and I still have to do my laundry and my dishes. We were promised, by now we'd have flying cars and
Yeah.
robots that would clean our houses. And so this frustration I think that many people feel about where we are with AI, with generative AI. The opportunity is there, but how is it going to affect us is something that I'm sure we can talk about. I will say that the way this has come around is also where there's not enough focus on what happens to jobs. We're talking about hundreds of millions of jobs, and
Mhm,
nobody's talking about this. Governments are not, bureaucrats are not, companies are not, some
mhm.
researchers are. But this is why this is such a big moment. And how will we treat this moment? Will we answer the call in a good way, or will we welcome kind of our own, miserable situation and kind of
Yeah.
gleefully cheer it on?
Right, and become the laundry and scullery maids for the AI to, yeah.
To function.
It's interesting. It's something, it's obviously something that has had an emotional connection for a lot of people that work in our field in the world of advertising and brand, because we do see kind of, as you're saying, both of those pushes. We see people who are pushing back and saying there's a very different thing with a human making something versus a machine making it. I'm curious, do you see a difference when you're talking about generative AI to your clients and partners and stuff like that? Do you see a difference between what maybe more business focused executives might see as the opportunities or challenges with generative AI versus what somebody who maybe works in more of a creative field, whether that be writing, visuals, music, et cetera? Do you see a difference in how they see the threats and opportunities with AI?
I think it's all over the place, and I'll give you somebody who's excited about AI. I got a colonoscopy a year and a half ago. I
Talk
didn't
about
think,
being excited.
yeah, yeah, we didn't think we were going to discuss that, right? We talked about transparency, so but I was just going to say that my doctor was so excited about what software is now in his camera
Mm,
that he believes that he has saved dozens of lives because it can extrapolate, interpret, analyze the data better than his eyes and his knowledge can. And so
Yeah.
he
mm,
believes that he's been able to do that. So you see someone like him, and he's in his middle to late 60s, and he says, I've not been so excited about my work in 20 years
mm,
because I now see that I'm able to have much more impact because of that. So that's at one end. You look at Cosmo magazine did a cover story on AI, and they used an image of an astronaut walking on the moon or Mars or whatever. And at the bottom of the on the cover, it said this image was created in 20 seconds, right? Like this cover was made in
Wow.
20 seconds. So what does that mean to designers? Do we not need designers anymore? Or do we need designers who can use these tools really well? If you work in the magazine business, one of the best things to do, the best parts of it is the fighting over the magazine cover, the layout,
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like, what image you're going to use. All of that's the exciting part. And here they created this in under a minute. They created the cover that would take weeks to design. So there's a very well-known tech writer and thinker named Daniel Pink, who has said that it's not that we're going to see AI replace humans, but we're going to see humans using AI replacing humans not using AI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, captures the moment where we are. And so we can either say, this is not for me, or we can say, all right, how can we use this? You've seen places like the Grammy Awards have said no AI will be allowed in entries for the Grammy. I mean, they will be
Yeah.
allowed in other things, but not in the contest. But they will have to pull back on that because, as you know, there's already auto tune and other things that happen with
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
that are, even when synthesizers came, that was considered like blasphemy, but now
Mm-hmm.
it's in an integral part of music. So
Yeah.
we have this push and pull between people who want to push on this exciting new frontiers, and then people want to pull back and say we're the guardians of
Right.
well, what will work. A major news organization said that we will not use AI in any of our work, and I was like, first of all, you're presuming that any AI or all AI is bad, all generative AI
Right.
is bad, and that's why you're saying it. And second, like, how would you know? And
Yeah.
things like Grammarly are now built in to a lot
Right.
of people's work. It just automatically fixing things and so you're using AI even if you don't know it. There, I'm since I'm full of old timey references that your audience won't
Love it.
get, your young audience won't get. I'll give you a reference to an old Palmolive dishwashing liquid ad where there's these women are talking in a nail salon, and they say, where's the dishwashing liquid? And they say, you're soaking in it. And her nails are in what she thought was something that helps nails, but it's actually dishwashing liquid. And so my point is that sometimes you're using the technology and you know it, and sometimes you're soaking in it, or sometimes it's in you in terms of
Yeah.
colonoscopy. So that's that new world. And so how much are we going to fight it? But how do we understand what are the boundaries? What are the opportunities? What are the problems? Those are just I mean, I've tried to give you a range of things to think about, but that's
Yeah.
just all just a small fraction, obviously, of where all of this is going.
When this podcast is posted, I think this article will still be relevant, but the New York Times just published an article where they interviewed creatives and people from the industry who are kind of in their 40s, 50s, 60s, beyond, so kind of the latter stages of their career. And it was really interesting because some of the people they talked to had actually expanded their businesses beyond just their creative advertising or brand business and had started to open brick and mortar stores or had focused on other aspects or interests that they had to kind of create a more well-rounded universe for them. So I don't know, it's something that I've been thinking of, we've all been thinking about a lot, right? Is does this become the singular universe, or do we kind of become these multifaceted individuals that are playing in multiple places? Brand is part of it, but are we starting to focus on a hard skill like woodworking or something like that on the side? Maybe some of these artisan pursuits will also kind of come back into vogue in a way that they maybe haven't been.
How about a industry that seems to be future proof, and that's plumbing, right? Like you
Yeah.
can imagine that one day when buildings are truly smart and truly well planned, brand new buildings, then you will need, like, plumbing will be something else. But today we know that. And by the way, there was an article about how the ultra rich are actually getting out of the smart home business because the home automation software is so bad
Yes.
that they
Yes.
hate it,
Yeah.
and so they're going back to old-fashioned light switches and dimmers and things like that. But this idea of what will our lives be all digital, or will there be room for tactile, physical things that we can do? I do this weird thing where for 9+ years now, I've been reading the Sunday print edition of the New York Times out
Me
loud
too.
on social
Yes.
media.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so you know about comedians in cars getting coffee. This is kind of like nerds reading a newspaper together, and I've been
Totally.
doing this for
cool.
every Sunday. And I do it because I still think there's some value in printed publications. I
Mm,
subscribe to
There
mm,
multiple
is.
magazines. Even books, like you can see here, lots of books still matter. And I
Great.
think that we want to be in a world where there are still. So this is my student's book. This is an advanced read copy of her book, and
cool.
there's something so special about having a physical book. I could read it on my Kindle as I sometimes do, but I still love something printed. And the
Mm,
people predicting the future had said that the last print publications will be gone by this year. 2025 was the year they predicted the New York Times would stop publishing in print. And obviously, we've lost hundreds of publications. So
yeah.
it's a valid and serious thing that's happened. But look at the resurgence of vinyl, for example,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there are things that people want that kind of there's some throwback element in all of this, especially as we're confused by so much coming to us digitally. I have a friend who now does everything on a paper calendar. Uh,
Oh, wow.
they get invitations and they write it down because they said there's just too much happening digitally.
So now that we're a little bit warmed up, it's time for our segment that we call Off Brand, where we're going to ask 3 brand related questions, or all asked to the two of you, connected to our theme. And so there's a little bit of an AI bent across them, and you guys can ask for hints. It's not a competition. All
I'm
right.
just here as support. Sree, you're in the hot seat.
Yeah, you got
I was
this.
hoping, I was hoping it's a contest so I can lose to you and be happy that
Ah,
you got it
no,
all.
no, 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 no.
All right. So the AI space is littered with acronyms, and a lot of us know what they generally mean,
Mm.
but maybe not literally. So pick one of the acronyms to tell us what it means, both literally and generally. And you could do LLM, GPT, ML, API, NLP.
Yeah, there's so many of them. So if you look at LLMs, of course, large language models, they're the underpinning of
Mm,
everything that we're talking about. And how do we know, like, whoever has the best LLMs is going to own the space, right? So that's
Yeah.
where everybody's competing for. And I'll just say all of
yeah.
this was something we all understood until end of January when DeepSeek came along
Yeah.
and just kind of at a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time kind of blew everybody away. And it was really good, I think, for the world to not have everything be out of the US, that China would have something that would be competitive in this space. I think was really important.
It also kind of helped democratize, right? To represent the
Mhm.
fact that, like, I think one of the things that I took from it, and I would love to hear from your perspective if this is an accurate thing to kind of take from this. But when I was reading it, my brain went to, one of the things that we saw in the first digital revolution around social spinning up is that it created these kind of ivory towers or walled gardens where, like, as these early, very innovative, agile companies kind of collected and became very defensive, started buying up a lot of other companies and became monolithic, it stifled a lot of the innovation that was so exciting early on in the social space and that created this really rich ecosystem. I was What I took from the DeepSeek was I really hope that as we move into a space of AI that we don't inherit the same sort of monolithic monopolistic type of attitudes in this space, and that instead it goes into an area where you can get a wide breadth of different variety, different sources, which can, I think, reduce the power of a few people to control how the world accesses a really important technology. Is that a fair thing to take away from that, or am I kind of being a little naive about it?
No, I think that's spot on. and it'll all depend on the follow-up to all of this, right? So I have this, I do these takeaways of my understanding of where things are with AI now, and I say Team Human will prevail in the battle of Team Robot and Team Human, but the question is, which kind of humans will prevail? Will it be a
Mm.
repetition of the social media world where some of the worst people ended up in charge, and we're seeing that now? As a result, the power is concentrated, wealth is concentrated, and these people who happen to strike it rich in where they were are now experts on everything and experts on the
Hmm.
world.
Right.
And so, it isn't that the systems are a problem, it's who programs the systems. That's why the more that this can be spread around the world, the better it will be.
Yeah, very, very much so. It ties very closely to our second question here. So, there was a big early win for an AI driven advertising campaign. And it came from the partnership of the agency holding company WPP, and they were working with Mondelez, the
Mhm.
candy and other goods conglomerate. And essentially, they featured a Bollywood superstar asking passerbys to shop at the local store during Diwali. So, what confectionery brand was this work for?
Hmm. Uh, well, Mondelez does, a wide range of things. So, the Toblerone, I don't know.
It was chocolate
Cadbury.
based, so it
Okay,
was
Cadbury.
Cadbury.
Cadbury. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that's their big brand. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So essentially, like these small businesses used a microsite to generate various versions of the ad for their own store. And so it would look like, the Bollywood star was essentially referring to their specific store, and there was 20,000 local stores that participated. I thought this was wild because I didn't even know about this until I found this chat. So I thought it was pretty cool. And still going with our creative theme, which famous painting was recreated by AI and sold at auction for over 400,000 US dollars? And I'm going to give us an A, B, and C. So A was called Machine Hallucinations, ISS Dreams A, by Refik Anadol, a pioneering Turkish American artist known for his large scale immersive installations.
Mhm.
This is B, Edmund de Bellamy, a GAN portrait constructed by the Paris based arts group called Obvious. And the portrait was named for Ian Goodfellow, the inventor of GANs. Or C, Untitled I-23 3758 by Harold Cohen, an ink on paper piece made in 1987 using Cohen's own AI drawing program, Aaron, Aaron, which he developed in the late 1960s.
Wow. I don't know this. I'd be guessing. Topher, do you know?
No, I'm not familiar with any of these pieces, but they all sound. I don't know. Now I definitely am gonna have to image search them after
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Um,
I would guess the
Totally
last one.
wild.
I would guess the last one. I don't know.
So all of them are in fact AI assisted paintings, but the only one that
Ah, tricky.
recreates
Uh,
another drawing was B. So the Edmond de Bellamy.
oh, okay. I was hoping it was the banana on the wall with the masking tape, and
Yeah.
I thought that might be too easy.
The the AI did the next best easy thing and was like, "How about I just don't do something silly like that?" So
But these are all good, I would say good channels to kind of go down in terms of people who live in creative spaces who are experimenting with AI. I was really taken aback by the idea of this AI drawing program that this guy's been tinkering with since the 1960s.
amazing.
I mean, there you
yeah.
go in terms of, AI has been around for a while.
What does it look like? Do you know what it looked like? What sort of rendering did the 1960s bot create?
There's a whole this is the whole exploration of his creative career. So we'll have to link this in the show notes so people can take a look.
Yeah. And is it very I picture it being very Tron, Pong. I don't know, I just when I picture what it looks like, is it very expressive or is it more what you kind of expect a 1960s HAL computer to render?
So I actually thought the first one was a little bit more Tron. The AI installations from Rafik, those
Yeah.
ones are much more like the kind of big designs that you expect to see. The second one was actually a charcoal drawing that literally looks like something that a human could have created, or
Okay.
apologies if I got the medium
Mhm.
incorrect. And then the last one I think is kind of a mix. It's like not really the expansive computer like bursts of energy that you would assume.
We've started to enter the world of infinite power and infinite computing power, and that's a great place to end up in our final segment, which is our omnipotent brand manager segment. Now, Sree, you've gotten, depending on how you think about your own job, you may have just gotten a demotion, but we'll call it a promotion into the most powerful brand manager in the history of creation. And you will inhabit this role for the span of a single project. You can work with any one brand. What brand would you work with? Doesn't have to be AI, just anything that you encounter in your own life
Mhm.
is totally fine. And what would you want to do with that brand?
Well, given where we are in the world right now, with the political and other situations that we're in now, I would like to work with the American Red Cross on
Mm,
other ways to help people being reduced in value importance. Look at what's happened with the USAID,
uh,
etc.
yeah.
These nonprofits have to step up and do even more. And what I would love is for the Red Cross, which is a default for everything from the
Mm,
fires in LA to tornadoes, to do a campaign where they're also showing off the impact of what they're doing, why they're doing it,
mm,
and how to become trusted so that they can be used in other beyond natural disasters. As the trust in government goes down, it's going to
oh,
be organizations like the
mm,
Red Cross, the UN, et cetera, that have to
mm,
have the runway to be able to step in to help everyday people in ways that we have not envisioned that role for these nonprofits, NGOs, charities, etc. And
yeah.
that's really unfortunate that we're in that situation. Uh, fully a third of Americans have, or maybe even more, have been taught that anything to do with the government is bad, when
Mm.
in fact there are concrete, useful, helpful roles that governments can play in different aspects of our lives.
I'm curious, in this space where we have exactly what you're talking about, an erosion of trust and perception of efficacy on the side of government, and at the same time, unprecedented need for large scale, forward thinking, systemic types of institutions to be able to help combat problems like climate change induced disasters, which are becoming even more, frequent. Uh, and in that world, we've also got kind of these third party organizations, like you're talking about, like the Red Cross, who potentially have a right to work in that space. It's interesting to me that you would like to join the side of the third party and move them forward. Um, is it basically because you're kind of feeling like in this exercise, trying to adjust expectations on the consumer or citizen side about the efficacy of a government agency would just be time that would be wasted, and that it's better to build up external institutions who can move in and maybe have an easier claim to that type of trust.
Well, I think it's partly because some of those people who got super rich corrupting us through social media have decided
Yeah.
that government's role is to be diminished itself. And so
Oh,
they're the ones who have, at least for the foreseeable future, made it so that anything to do with the government's a dirty word. And so
mm,
that's how I look at it. But in a different
yeah.
political circumstance, we might be talking about it a little differently.
Yeah, yeah. But then, so as it is, what you're sort of saying is that like there's a lot of important work to be done in the third party, non-governmental types of organizations that are going to need to step in and pick up the slack. Is that fair?
100%.
Yeah.
Or
Wow.
104% if you're tracking how our current tariffs are against China.
Oh, man. And who knows what things are going to look like by the what types of crazy percentages we're going to be looking at by the time this podcast goes to air.
We have to laugh because otherwise we'll be crying all day.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
much so. Well, Sree, we thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It was so great to go everywhere from the beginnings of the internet and talking about Blackberries to going analog and the future of AI. I think we covered quite a swath, and it was very, very informative and thought provoking. There's so much more to think and talk about and learn as we continue our journeys in living with AI.
Thank you. My pleasure. I had a great time. It's great to reconnect, and looking forward to seeing where we all end up together.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been wonderful. And thank you everybody who's listening as well. To learn more about Territorial and how we help brands find their place in the world, go to our website, which is www.weareterritorial.com. Follow us on LinkedIn. We'll also have some links to the work that Sree does and Digimentors, the company that he founded and leads. So you can learn more about him. We'll also link to his LinkedIn. Highly recommend checking out the content that he posts. And Sree, I would love it if people would join along on your read along of the Sunday thing. I know Iodon is going to be really excited about that, so we'll include a link to that as well.
Thank you. It's way too early for you in the West Coast, but
I won't be there.
Can join. Yes, exactly. Thanks very
I'll
much.
catch you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sree. Bye, everybody.